Hi, hey, hello, and welcome to another episode of a Colts podcast. My name's Brandon, and I'm joined here by your co-host, my best friend, Andrew Moore. And yeah, we're still brought to you by Fan Nation on SI.com. Andrew, my partner, my friend, my buddy, how are you doing? I'm much less tired this week. No bachelor party this past weekend. So how are you feeling after a week of recovery?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Colts football is back. No more talking about it. We're actually seeing live football on the field this week. I was down in Westfield, got to take in all the action, and some guys definitely impressed me. I'll say that, but I'm feeling good, and I'm ready to talk some live Colts football with you. How about yourself?
Not too bad. I've only seen really update-wise, video-wise, highlights-wise of camp so far. The only thing I've seen is that Nick Cross interception that's just causing a ruckus on Twitter already. Day one, rookie safety makes a great play on his first day of training camp at 7-on-7s, and the world's falling apart, apparently. Andrew, obviously, from the get-go, let's just make sure everybody goes ahead and follows at a Colts podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And, you know, by doing that, you're already partway there to get entered into our lovely little a Colts podcast ticket giveaway. 2 tickets to the Lions versus the Colts. Lions fans, right, Andrew?
Lions fans.
August 20th. 1 p.m. at the one and only Lucas Oil Stadium. The rules are follow a Colts podcast on Twitter at a Colts podcast, at Andrew Moore NFL, and at BM Moses 9. Again, not going to penalize you if you don't follow me. It's not a great follow. It's not a good time. So don't bother following me. Like a Colts podcast on Facebook. And subscribe to a Colts podcast on YouTube. And you know what? Bonus points if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts and send a screenshot to the DM of a Colts podcast Twitter. I just added that new rule. Maybe half a ticket entry. That doesn't work. Give you an extra ticket entry if you rate us on Spotify or a Colts podcast on Apple Podcasts. Wow,
We're getting there.
How's that sound, Andrew?
That sounds great. Yeah, I mean, the seats are great. It's going to probably be the most enjoyable preseason game because the starters are going to play the most time in this one. Obviously, the first game in Lucas Oil Stadium in 2022, so it's going to be a good time. You definitely do all that, get your follows in, be entered to win. You're not going to want to miss out on this because, I mean, we're all happy Colts football is back.
What's up,
Love
Greg?
to see it.
I don't know what's going on in Greg's profile picture here, but it's people either love it or they hate it. I can't tell which people are supposed to love it and which people are supposed to hate it. We'll leave it at that. Let's dig in, Andrew. Colts training camp, week 1. Halfway through, right? I mean, people reported on Tuesday. Actually started practicing yesterday, and the big Marvel themed practice today, which very cool stuff.
Yeah, who was it? Captain America, Spider-Man were going through the crowd taking pictures. Colts were giving out some posters. Some Marvel designers drew up some of the players, made them into comic book characters. Brandon, the Marvel fan that he is, grabbed him one.
Hell of a
while I was down there. But yeah, I mean, it was a really good atmosphere. The Colts had over 7,500 fans there at training camp today on a Thursday in the middle of the day.
That didn't get a poster.
And the thing is, that's the most fans that the Colts have been able to have at training camp since 2018. Because, I mean, the pandemic happened. They didn't even reach that in 2019 when they were there at Grand Park. So there's just a sense from the fan base. There's an energy around this team. There's an excitement level because of the additions of Matt Ryan and Yannick Ngakoue. Stephon Gilmore, and just what the Colts currently have of where this team can go this year and what all they can accomplish. So it was great to see all the fans there. I think Saturday night's practice, Jim Irsay said, is sold out, quote unquote, because the tickets are free for fans. But yeah, they're not offering any more. Roof is open because it's outside.
Jim's tweeting, so I need to know, is the roof open or closed?
Hey, if it ends up being inside, only 750 fans, but weather looks good. Going to be well over 10,000 fans there on Saturday night. It's going to be a fun show.
My sister and Chris were there
today.
Yeah, nice. I think they might have gotten one for my nephew, so we might have an extra poster. I have to update you on that, but again, appreciate you doing that. So, I mean, I obviously was not there, so I have no general observations from camp. However, this next guy we're going to talk about, the Iceman on the Marvel posters, brilliant, by the way. They could have taken the easy way out and gone, Captain America leading the squad or something like that. And they said, no, the Iceman, Matty Ice, looking pretty good in camp day one. What did he look like to you today, Andrew? Because I've not heard much yet.
I mean, he looks good. He does, especially for being with a new team, new playbook. He's still getting that playbook down, but you can already tell he has a real command over this offense. The offense looks towards him. And really, this was kind of the synopsis of my piece that I wrote on him for this morning that came out. The team, I mean, Matt Ryan just has that it factor. The team gravitates to Matt Ryan. There's no question about his leadership ability like there was last year at the quarterback position for this team. The team believes in Matt Ryan. He demands excellence from every single one of his teammates, and he wants everybody on the team to take every practice rep like it's a real game. He's out there. I saw him making multiple checks at the line of scrimmage already. He's one that's kind of driving this up tempo practice, because both days in a row, the Colts ended practice 10 minutes early, not because there was anything special. It's because they got through everything that they had planned. Yeah. Frank Reich said the reason for that was Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan at the beginning of camp told Frank Reich, I'm going to really push the tempo here. And Reich said, we're going to lead as you go. So Matt Ryan is already setting the standard that practice is going to be fast. It's going to be deliberate, and they're going to get a lot of work done in that time as well. So, and I mentioned it multiple times, to just thinking to myself, man, they're going through periods pretty quickly. And sure enough, it's because Matt Ryan is pushing this team and making sure they're going through at a very up-tempo pace. So
again, I mean, play clock.
What's that?
I said sticking to the play clock.
Exactly.
It's like we got to keep it going. You don't get a moment to rest in a game, aside from a timeout. And even then there's a time limit. In the 75 TV timeouts. But Matt Ryan, from what I've heard, super accurate so far.
Mm-hmm.
Nyheim Hines, I did watch a lot of the media stuff that was out yesterday. I didn't get a chance to watch the stuff that was out today. But Nyheim talks about how, most quarterbacks, when they first starts throwing with them, throw it behind him because they're not leading him well enough because how fast he is. It catches people off guard. And that's not the case with Matt Ryan. I think I heard somebody talk about how, when Matt Ryan takes command of, a situation like, Matt Ryan, he's talking to me. Like, was it Nyheim as well that talked about getting chills when Matt's talking, because he's just so serious and so in command of that team already. So it sounds like he's earned the respect that we don't know if Carson Wentz earned in an entire season already at the start of training camp.
I'm going to get back to kind of this feeling. There's just a different feeling around this team. Like, I'm not going to practice looking at Carson Wentz and wondering, how's he going to do throwing the football? It's more of, I know what I'm going to get with Matt Ryan. I know he's going to be accurate. I know he's going to get the ball out quickly, and I know he's going to deliver it to his receivers in a place that only they can get him. And it's going to be the right play every single time. So it just seems like there's an ease with this. Like, offense is easy again with the Colts. It's not Carson Wentz scrambling around and you think you're going to have a heart attack on every play.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan is making the right throws. I mean, he's still learning.
You don't have to hold your breath every time the ball snapped.
Right, exactly. He's still learning his teammates. There were some throws today that were a little bit off because he's still getting the timing down with those guys, but you're going to have that. There's going to be growing pains when you have a new quarterback, and it's the very first 2 practices of training camp. So when you're talking about what I've seen from Matt Ryan so far, you're right. Very accurate, very deliberate, very quick to get rid of the football. And you can just see the leadership. Teammates are going up to him there. When the huddle is happening, all eyes are on Matt Ryan. It's just a completely different feel from the Colts quarterback from this year compared to last year throughout the Carson Wentz saga.
Hey, get effing set. We should make shirts.
You want to make those shirts?
I kind of do. They moved practice. Matt says, Stats Matt, hello, welcome, sir. Hope the kids went to bed. All right. They moved practice to noon to help replicate an actual game day schedule, which is true. Actually, you know what? Chris seemed a little out of touch with the team the other day in his media availability. When he talked to the media, I was like, dude, do you know what's going on with this team right now? He goes, yeah, I guess they moved it back, try to get the circadian rhythms more in line with game day, yada, yada. He almost seemed a little out of touch in that meeting. That's a whole nother subject, but other players talked about it too. They're like, because the media is like, how do we avoid a slow start? How do we avoid a slow start? Can't have it. And he goes on to say, Stats Matt, that Ryan is running practice to like a game day timing, and I agree with that as well. And that's just one more thing to get the rhythm going for week 1, because 5 of our first 7 games are divisional games. First game was away at Houston. Can't drop that one.
At Houston, week 1, at Jacksonville, week 2. And then when the Colts finally do come back home
against the old Chiefs,
doesn't get any easier because it's the Kansas City Chiefs coming to town. Week after that, the division-winning Tennessee Titans. So they've got a little bit of a gauntlet to start the season. Colts need to be prepared for that.
You're going to be wildly hungover for that Chiefs game.
Oh, I know. Because that's the day after your wedding, brother.
That is correct. Yeah, I know. I'm going to be hopefully watching that game from like Connor's bar. I hope I never leave that bar because I think we're going to get brunch that morning. Like the people that stay at the hotel. I hope I never leave the bar. I hope I'm there all the way through the Colts game. All right, let's move it along. I can't be sitting here talking about the day after my wedding for hours. What did you edit the outline since I set this up, or what? What happened to the running back conversation?
No, we're going to be talking about the running backs next.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at the notes right now. It says Matt Ryan, wide receiver rotation, Andrew. We're going to talk about the running backs.
I'm looking at it right now, and I got running backs right after.
I don't know what's going on. But anyway, Andrew, the running back group, Nyheim Hines, from what I've heard talking to you, from what I've seen online, and from what we expected, is going to be an active participant in this football season.
I think our running back conversation is going to be pretty short because Jonathan Taylor, I can confirm, still very good.
Still very good at football.
Still very good. He's been carving. Every time he's touched the ball, he's been cutting quickly. You see that 4 speed. He's been able to get through the holes. He's been contributing in the passing game. Matt Ryan's been finding him. But then getting to Nyheim Hines. Nyheim Hines, I mean, Frank Reich said it. We've said it. Nyheim Hines is going to be a very big part of the passing offense. He said in his media availability this week that he'd like to set a career high in catches. I think his career high is 63. I mean, we could see 70, 80 catches out of Nyheim Hines, and I wouldn't be surprised. Really would not be surprised.
I think I said this last week or 2 weeks ago, and you were like, I don't know. I think that's a little crazy, but Matt Hines might lead the team in catches.
I still think Pittman is going to lead the team in catches because I think Pittman's going to get another 80 to 90. But I could see
Matt, who led the Falcons in catches last year. I bet it was Cordero Patterson.
Okay, well, look at the Falcons wide receiver core. They don't have a Michael Pittman Jr. out there on the outside.
It's Calvin Ridley, who bets on himself, Andrew.
Calvin Ridley was in there for, I think, 5 games, and then
bets on himself.
Was off the rest of the season.
On his own account, too.
Allegedly. It's all alleged. Anyways, but yeah, Nyheim Hines is going to be a big part of the Colts passing offense. The Colts are making sure to get him involved early in camp to kind of show what it's going to look like. We're definitely going to see a lot more sets with Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines both on the field at the same time. And I'll kind of talk about that in the wide receiver rotation because it definitely has an effect there. But
yeah,
a big part of this offense is still going to go through the running backs, and it's not necessarily just going to be to pound it on the ground and run the damn ball. Both of these guys, Nyheim Hines in particular, going to have a big impact on the passing game.
Nyheim Hines also said in reference to Jonathan Taylor, I mean, because they asked, like, how does Jonathan Taylor do better than last year? And we keep saying, we don't want him to have the numbers he had last year unless he's just, and he talked about efficiency a little bit too. Unless he's just the most efficient running back of all time, 40 yards a carry, 20 yards a carry. We don't want him to repeat the numbers that he did last year necessarily, because we don't want to have to depend on him like that. We don't have to run the ball. So we don't want it to be so run heavy. But Nyheim Hines says, hey, you should be excited because year 2 to 3 is usually the biggest jump for most players, especially running backs, right? Crazy to think about.
Crazy to think about how much better Jonathan Taylor could still get. It's stats, Matt, coming in clutch. Kyle Pitts had 68 catches, Russell Gage 66, and Cordell Patterson 52 last year for the Atlanta Falcons.
All right, stats, Matt. You're supposed to goof those up on purpose when I need you to.
Rather stats, Matt, go back on his softball games or a fishing trip.
No, he can be here. I just want him to lie for me once in a while. Wide receiver group, Andrew. Let's start with Pittman. I know we're going to talk about some other guys, but I want to talk about Pittman, who we're supposed to expect to excel this year, right? Did you see anything out of him at all today?
I mean, Pittman did his thing. I mean, he was winning one-on-one matchups. He had some battles with Brandon Faison, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, that were pretty interesting. But a lot of stuff to Pittman has been on shorter routes, crossing routes. But what's sticking out to me is their routes to get Pittman out in space, get him so he can use his yards after catch ability, because we saw it with Phillip Rivers his rookie year. When you get the ball in Pittman's hands and there's green grass ahead of him, he's hard to bring down because he's like a bull in a china shop. He just runs so angry going forward down the field that it takes multiple guys to bring him down. I mean, he's 6'4", over 220 pounds. He's long and lanky, so he doesn't look like he's that big, but he's a big dude. Standing next to Matt Ryan, he's all as big as Matt Ryan, probably a little bit bigger. But yeah, I mean, Pittman has been doing his thing. I mean, he hasn't been making highlight reel one-handed catches or anything, but I don't think the Colts really asking him to do that. Don't need him to really to do that. The guy that has stood out to me, though, and I know I'm going to give you false hope, Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell looks so good out there. He's creating separation. His cuts are so crisp. He's catching everything thrown his way. I haven't seen Paris Campbell drop a single ball all of camp. There's just nobody that can keep up with him. And if Paris Campbell can stay healthy, man, this offense is going to just go to a different level. And right now, Paris Campbell isn't running as the third wide receiver. Paris Campbell is with the first team offense, and he's out there.
Exact same conversation we had last year.
He's out there with Pittman. I mean, when they go 2 wide receiver sets, it's Pittman and Campbell. And then when they move to 3 wide receivers, then Alec Pierce comes in. So Campbell is out there as one of the 2 main receivers. Then when Pierce comes in, that's when Campbell usually moves into the slot. But man, he just looks so good. The speed is there. The athleticism, that elusiveness. That's all he needs to do is stay healthy. And I think Paris Campbell can become a big weapon for this team. And that's why I think the Colts are so bullish on this wide receiver group, is because if Pittman can reach, or if Campbell can reach his potential, just stay healthy, they've got a legitimate wide receiver in Paris Campbell.
I hope you're right, but I don't know if you saw it, but Zach tweeted the other day, camp hasn't started until Frank Reich talks about how good Paris Campbell's playing.
Oh, I know.
I imagine camp's going to be starting soon for Zach Hicks. I mean, the idea of it excites me. The realism of it, I'm not there yet. I'm not a pessimist, but I am a realist, and until I see it, I'm not going to know.
That's why I'm trying to tamper expectations, even for myself, because when you see it live, like I have, you can't deny the ability that Paris Campbell has. It's just until he can stay healthy and go a full season without getting hurt, you're always going to wonder every time he touches the ball, oh no, is this the play Paris Campbell gets hurt and misses the rest of the season?
Yeah. What about Alec Pierce though? I want to know a little bit about what you saw from him. I was just rewatching that Reggie Wayne video, the Reggie Wayne mic'd up and him making fun of the way Alec Pierce runs, which was absolutely hilarious. Is he looking crisp? What's it looking like with him?
I'd say Alec Pierce looks like he belongs. The Colts are definitely putting him with the number one offense. I mean, he made a highlight play yesterday. He made a nice 25-yard gain across the middle. Matt Ryan put it right on the dot. Today he struggled a little bit. He had a couple drops. There were times where I thought he could have been a little bit more physical to try to get away from the cornerback. Stephon Gilmore made a really good play on Alec Pierce and knocked the ball right out of his hands. There was a time where Alec Pierce had Isaiah Rodgers beat for a touchdown. And while Isaiah Rodgers did end up getting his hand in there, you'd like to see Pierce bring that down and score, because Nick Foles threw a really good ball. So he does look like he belongs. I would say that. It doesn't look like it's too big for Alec Pierce. And he's going to have, every rookie is going to have some bumps along the road, especially within these first couple practices of training camp. But I would say it doesn't look too big for him. It looks like he does belong, and he's showing that he's a quick learner. He's showing that he's getting the route tree down, and he's getting this offense down, and that's why I think the Colts coaches have been spending so much time with him, is because they know he's got the potential. He's a smart kid. He just kind of needs to get into the rhythm with this Colts offense, and I think he will.
I think so too. I mean, who's going to sit here and blame him for getting the ball knocked out of his hands by one of the best quarterbacks of our generation, of the current generation of football players? Nobody's going to blame him.
Hey, Chuck Pagano says iron sharpens iron. Going up against Stephon Gilmore every day in practice, it's going to help him.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, people forget Nick Foles is an Indianapolis Colt.
Did you forget that?
I like literally like yesterday, the day before, it's just like light bulb. I was like, oh my God, Nick Foles is a Colt, and I totally forgot. I haven't seen any pictures of him or anything. You know what I mean? I think I saw him on the field in a picture when I was looking for the thumbnail today, but I thought about it the other day, and I saw somebody else tweet about it today too, and I was like, dude, same thing the other day. Like, oh, hey, by the way, Nick Foles. Rookies. Just got done talking about Alec Pierce a little bit. Let's talk about a Mr. Jelani Woods. Andrew defines him as a dog, an animal.
Man,
dude can play.
Jelani Woods impressed me today. As far as, I mean, besides Paris Campbell, I would say Jelani Woods was the top performer at camp today. He was, I mean, he caught a deep seam from Nick Foles that would have been a touchdown. He's just so smooth over the middle. I mean, you see a guy that's 6'7" and he looks all of 6'7". He's a big dude. And then when you see him run, you just don't expect a guy like that to run so smoothly, to have as crisp cuts as Jelani Woods does, and to have that speed. I mean, he's got 4.61 speed at 6'7" and 260 pounds. That's hard to defend. And when the Colts did a lot of one-on-ones today, and in 7-on-7 work, they matched him up one-on-one. Seemed like he was getting open a lot. And the way, especially with how Kylan Granson has performed the past couple days, multiple drops. He fell down on a couple routes.
Yeah. Some people are blaming him for that Nick Cross interception.
Well, that was to
it was Mo
Cox.
Yeah, you're right. Never mind. Nobody was blaming Granson on that one.
But if Jelani Woods keeps stacking good days on top of one another, and Kylan Granson is up and down, it's not going to take long for Jelani Woods to supplant Kylan Granson as the number 2 tight end, because he's certainly athletic enough to play in line and be that F tight end that you can put in the slot and him be a mismatch down the field. So that's the guy that really impressed me today.
Did you get to see him block at all?
I did. They kept him in line a little bit, and I mean, he held nothing spectacular. I mean, he's not a Jack Doyle level blocker, but he held his own. I mean, I think that's all you can ask at this point when the pads aren't on. The kid's still learning the scheme, but you got to remember Jelani Woods was a former quarterback, so he's got the smarts and he's got that football IQ. It's not going to take him long to really learn this offense. So he held his own. I think he could tweak and probably clean some things up in his pass protection and in the running game as well. But what really impressed me was just the way he moves down the field, and it stood out right away.
Okay. And then going to the other side of the football, Nick Cross, last rookie we'll talk about specifically right now. How is he looking? Obviously, he had the interception on Matty Ice in 7-on-7 yesterday. Anything special or notable today that you saw, or just in general? What are you feeling about Nick Cross right now?
Yeah, so Nick Cross played pretty much with the first team defense the entire time through 11-on-11s, through 7-on-7s. I mean, he was out there with the Blackmans, the Ngakwe's, the Buckners, all the first team defense, and he was holding his own. A lot of where he played was down in the box, because with Gus Bradley, a lot of single high safeties, and that's primarily what you saw today. Was Julian Blackmon was deep. By the way, Julian Blackmon, you don't have to worry about that Achilles. He's explosive. His speed is back. I didn't see any lingering issues. So, but back to Nick Cross. I mean, he's playing more in the box, which is what we see, but the guy's explosive. I mean, you see him cut on the ball, and you could see those ball instincts that we kind of talked about when the Colts drafted him. I mean, he had 3 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles, or was it 3 interceptions and 2 forced fumbles his last year in Maryland. So the guy's got a nose for the football. And the first day on that crosser to Mo Alley Cox, the ball was a little late by Matt Ryan, a little bit high, but at the same time, Nick Cross was reading Matt Ryan's eyes right there. I mean, for a rookie to do that in his first training camp practice, tweeted this out. There was a rookie back in 2018 that in his first practice intercepted a Pro Bowl quarterback. Then he went on to go for 3 All-Pros, 3 Pro Bowls in his first 4 years. Shaquille Leonard was that guy. By the way, Darius Shaquille Leonard. Brandon hates that, but let's not get on that topic.
No, we can talk about it. Hey, everybody, if you hadn't heard, Darius Leonard apparently went by his middle name, Shaquille, for his whole life. Apparently some people in the building call him Shaq. Apparently some people don't. He also tweeted, Andrew, that he's not going to be offended or upset or whatever if you still call him Darius. So guess what? His name's Darius, okay? I had a conversation with somebody relating it to another situation where it's hard to just switch and start calling somebody something else. So you can't get mad if somebody does. So his name's Darius. I'll call him, Leonard if I have to, or the Maniac. There's one Shaq to me.
We all know who number 53 is out there, but Shaquille Leonard is the guy who I was thinking about, and that's what Nick Cross did. Picked off Matt Ryan, so he's looked good. He again, these rookies have came in and they don't look like it's too big for them. They look like they're ready to play right now, and I think that's why the Colts drafted a lot of these guys, is because not only do they think they can continue to get better down the line, but these guys can all contribute right away, like an Alec Pierce, a Jelani Woods, a Nick Cross. All these guys are going to have big roles their rookie year on a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. So Nick Cross, I think he's got the starting job locked down at strong safety, and the Colts are giving him every opportunity to go out there and prove that. And again, he's looked explosive. He's got a nose for the ball. He's been impressive on the defensive side of the ball.
All right, and speaking of DSL, huh? No, can't call him that. Can't call him that. That doesn't work. He might come find me for that one. Let's talk about the health of some key defensive players in Leonard and Buckner, Andrew. And actually, let's start with the health of another key defensive player, not on the PUP list, Mr. Julian Blackmon.
Julian Blackmon, like I said before, I mean, I was watching him intently today, and just to see how he was moving. He moves well, doesn't show any progression in his explosiveness, doesn't have any restrictions. He was a full participant in practice, did every drill, did every 11 on 11. He was breaking on the ball. He was flying all around the field in that center field role.
Love to hear it.
So Julian Blackmon, it does. I mean, the kid, all he does is anytime he gets a serious injury, defies the odds, comes back quicker than anyone thought, and doesn't miss the step, both with his ACL tear and with the Achilles tear. So huge congratulations to Julian Blackmon.
Trombone wasn't supposed to get hit too, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's awesome. But let's talk about Leonard. He is on the PUP list, is not practicing. I mean, I hate to be the guy that says I told you so about Darius Leonard being hurt, because I don't want him. I don't want him on the PUP list. I don't want him sitting out of camp. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad. You know, I'm kind of glad I was right in a way, because that means if there is something that's being, aggravating him, that maybe he realized, hey, maybe I just take some more time off and take care of this thing.
Yeah. So Leonard spoke with the media this week about his injury. He says he feels good, making good progress. There hasn't been any setbacks so far, which is good. He didn't put a timeline on his recovery. Not a real big shock there, because I don't think he wants to promise that he'll be ready for week 1, especially when there's just no timetable and he wants to feel this out. And I think that's good, because I think I almost did it. Shaquille Leonard doesn't want to rush himself back from this one because of what he went through in 2021, where the ankle wasn't getting better. And with something as serious as a back surgery, you don't want to mess this up and have a setback, because that could ruin your career. So he is on the PUP list. He says he's feeling good. He was out there practice today. He was jogging around. He was the same energetic maniac that we all love. He was with the linebackers, with the defensive side of the ball. So he looks like it's not affecting him too much. But again, he's still probably trying to get full range, full contact back into that back and the ankle. And I'm not too worried if he misses the preseason. I'm really not. Go ahead and take care of that, Brandon.
Hey, hold on. Before we go, if anybody wants to hit the link before I remove the posts.
I really, Jesus, I really am not. I'm not worried if Leonard doesn't play in the preseason. Sure, you'd like to have him get some snaps in there. You'd like to have him get some reps so he's not necessarily so rusty when he does come back. But at the same time, I think, Leonard's a pro. He's done this before. I think 100% Shaquille Leonard is better than a Shaquille Leonard that's fighting injuries all year like he was last year.
Suck bots. Thanks, man. I was shocked to see DeForest on here. I thought DeForest was healthy. He's not on the PUP list. So what are we talking about in regards to his health? I guess he was going through, what was it, an ankle last year?
It was an ankle. Really, it's nothing too crazy with DeForest Buckner. He's got a little bit of a back issue, has some back tightness. Really, the Colts and Frank Reich said today, they're just being more precautious than anything. And he's still practicing. He's out there for drills. He's out there in some 11 on 11 work. He's just not going 100% in there for every single rep. They're just kind of taking it easy with DeForest Buckner. So really nothing to worry about there.
All right. And moving along to competition updates. Yeah,
let's do it.
Well, we talked about this a little, Andrew, and from the way you've been ranting and raving about Woods, this tight end competition for the second tight end spot, Granson versus Woods, it's starting to sound like it won't be long before we're definitely favoring Woods.
If Granson keeps this up and keeps the uneven performances, I think there's going to be big discussion had whether Jelani Woods should be the number 2 tight end and that F tight end because of I mean, he looks the part. He's been dominating practice. He looks good, been catching the ball, the speed, and Granson's been dropping it. He hasn't been performing up to the level that I would expect. So right now, Granson still has it because Granson is out there most of the time with the ones. But if this keeps up, Woods is going to be on his heels, and Woods is going to eclipse him, I think, pretty quickly.
Yeah, you know what it was why I thought Granson was involved in that one play. I saw in the comments people saying, "Oh, that's why we need to get Granson out there," and then other people, smarter people, were saying we need to get Woods out there. But still not very bright people if they're suggesting that either one of those guys should be playing in front of Mo Alley Cox already.
Right.
So not too bright either way. And the reason I was in those comments, by the way, doing some digging was because in the replies was because of Stats Matt. So thanks for the entertainment, Stats Matt. Left tackle competition between Pryor and Raymond.
Yeah, Pryor has taken all of the snaps with the first team offense at left tackle. So Bernard Raymond has been solely with the second team. Pryor's been solely with the first team. And Pryor kind of talked about it today after practice. He said that he's only focusing on left tackle. That's the only position the Colts want him to focus on, which I think is smart. And going up against Yannick Ngakoue every single day in practice, again, iron sharpens iron. Yannick is going up and he's trying to make practice hard for Matt Pryor. And the thing about Ngakoue, which I think it shows tremendous leadership on Ngakwe's part. He's been staying after practice with Matt Pryor and during practice with Matt Pryor. He's been talking to him about, okay, I see you're doing this. Here's how I could counter it. So kind of be on the lookout for that. So he's coaching Pryor and telling him what he sees, so that way Pryor can take that into his knowledge bank and start using that and get better as a left tackle. So it's not Ngakoue going out there and trying to embarrass Matt Pryor. He's going out there and trying to help him become a better left tackle in practice, which I think is absolutely sensational work by Yannick Ngakoue.
And by the way, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be a cakewalk for whoever wins that left tackle position, but I mean, you're not going to see much out there with our schedule this year that's, you know, terribly more difficult than going solo on Yannick Ngakoue. So I think it's, like you said, it's excellent practice and experience for Pryor. And I still think, and it's early, but I still think he's the one that pulls through in that position.
Yannick Ngakoue is Matt and I's close personal friend.
Close personal friend. Yeah. Also, man-to-man pod, just liking an entire conversation between me and Matt today. And I said, hey, while you're here, just give us a follow. You know, I mean, well, shit, you're here. And they liked it, and they didn't follow us. I was pissed.
Maybe
I like to imagine it was Darius Butler himself.
There we go. Probably was. You never know.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Right guard, Pinner versus Fries. I think everybody's pretty much on Pinner's side here, and I don't expect that to change.
This isn't really a competition. It looks like Pinter has taken every single snap at right guard. Fries has been mostly the center on the second unit, so it doesn't look like Pinter is back. Doesn't look like Pinter is really going to give up that right guard spot. And then we'll just kind of dive right into the big position battle that everyone wants to talk about: Isaiah Rodgers versus Brandon Faison. And here's something interesting that I saw at practice today. Brandon Faison, for the second day in a row, was solely with the first team offense, the first team defense. It's been Gilmore on one side, Faison on the other, Kenny Moore in the slot. Isaiah Rodgers has been, I mean, Isaiah Rodgers comes in occasionally on the first team defense, but as of right now, it looks like Faison is getting that first run and that first opportunity as the starter on the outside opposite of Gilmore, which I thought coming into camp, it would be the opposite way. I thought Isaiah Rodgers would be that guy, but as of right now, and again, we're 2 practices in, so let's not make any final decisions here. But Brandon Faison has been out there and he's been competing. I mean, he's gotten a couple plays away from Michael Pittman Jr., which is big. He's a long, taller corner with that's good in run support as well. So I think Faison has done enough and looked decent to as he's been on that first team defense.
All right. And, and maybe that's a little coach's favorite, a little familiarity. Do you think that has anything to do with it? Maybe the scheme change is the reason we're giving Rodgers a little more time to get used to it. What do you think it could be right now?
Yeah, I definitely do think that he has a leg up because he's been in Gus Bradley's system. Not only was he in Gus Bradley's defense last year with the Las Vegas Raiders, he was with Gus Bradley for 3 years prior to that, even with the Los Angeles Chargers. So this is the defensive scheme that Brandon Facyson has been in his entire career. So he knows the assignments. He knows what he's supposed to do on defense, and he's been executing. The Colts brought him in here before Stephon Gilmore came over. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it was after the Rocky Sin trade. But the Colts told Facyson that he'd get an opportunity to start, and so far he's been delivering on that. And I think this is good for the Colts cornerback group because if Facyson could step up to the challenge, we already know Isaiah Rodgers and his playmaking ability. That just makes the entire room better. When you have 4 solid starting corners on your team, again, you can never have enough cornerbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Moving along to we are 42 minutes in. Let's move along. Safety, McLeod and Cross. That's feeling like very Cross already.
Yeah, McLeod came off of the PUP list, but and he's been a lot of times with that second team defense. If the Colts do go with 3 safeties on the field, then McLeod comes in. But like I've been saying, Cross has been the one primarily working with the first team. And I think the Colts are giving Cross every opportunity to solidify himself as the Colts starting strong safety.
Buckle in. It's a long one, guys. Other Colts news. Let's move it along to that. Andrew, injury designations right now. The PUP list does consist of linebacker Darius Shaquille Leonard, and wide receiver Mike Strawn. Also, pretty sure we looked this up pretty intently last year when he was drafted, and Chris called him Strahan. Pretty positive.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Strawn, I
kind of want to leave him for the extra comments, but come on.
So Mike Strawn, this is really hurting him. I mean, because you're talking about a guy that's on the fringe really to make the roster. And when you have wide receivers like Paris Campbell, Alec Pierce, we didn't even talk about Ashton Dulin. Ashton Dulin has been kind of that 4th wide receiver coming in and rotating and for Pittman, Campbell, and Pierce. But then Patman has also been getting some run with the first team offense. So they're giving these guys a shot. Mike Strawn needs to be out there proving his worth, and him missing camp. I think the longer this goes, it makes his chances of not making the roster a little bit higher, in my opinion. We could see a cut and then see if Strong comes back on the PUP list, but it's just unfortunate that he's not out there really trying to show his worth and show how he's improved since last season.
Whereas I believe Patman's been playing well.
Patman has been playing well.
So interesting. I'm still pulling for Patman. I like Mike Strawn. I think the upside's probably higher, but I've been on the Patman bandwagon for so long. His mom follows me on Twitter or on Instagram. I just got to keep pushing. Colts claim former Patriots defensive tackle Byron Cowart off waivers, missed 2021 due to an injury. Started 14 games in 2020. 27 tackles and 1 sack. I mean, maybe that turns into something, but we're being realistic here, Andrew. There's going to be a lot of this, and we aren't going to talk much about it typically.
Cowart, I think, has a chance. He's a bigger guy. I think he has a chance to fight for that backup nose tackle position behind Grover Stewart. I mean, starting experience. He was with the Patriots for a number of years, so it's not like he's a rookie coming in. But yeah, I mean, if he impresses in camp, by all means, I think the Colts could make him that backup nose tackle, and he could find a role on this team.
Colts signed wide receiver John Hurst and wide receiver Isaiah Ford, and waive defensive end Scott Patchen and defensive tackle Kavion Patton, and release wide receiver Kekoa Crawford.
Isaiah Ford made some nice plays today. So I think he's got an uphill battle to make that roster, but he could be a practice squad candidate. He's got some time, spent a couple seasons with the Dolphins. But Isaiah Ford was impressive today in practice.
So a lot of talk about how, oh man, it's so great. None of the COVID crap, this year, but I haven't heard anybody mention Andrew. Does that apply to the COVID rules that gave us more protected spots on the practice squad? Or however that worked?
It does not. So all the COVID restrictions and COVID advantages of more spots on the practice squad, all that has been wiped away. It now goes back to how it was, all the rules pre-COVID.
Got it. Very interesting. Haven't heard a single person mention that. Primetime reporting right there. Let's talk about news around the league, Andrew. The Texans rookie wide receiver John Mechie III has been diagnosed with leukemia. That is a young human being be getting leukemia. I mean, I guess that gets anybody, but very sad stuff to hear.
Definitely is. He pretty much, obviously, he said he's going to use his rookie season to fight this, so he probably isn't going to reach the field. Good news is the type of leukemia that Mechie has is one of the most curable forms of leukemia. So things are honestly looking as good as they can for Mechie. Obviously, we're thinking about it. I hope he pulls through, even though he's on the rival Texans. Great human being, great young player. So wish him well.
Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow underwent surgery to remove his appendix this week. Me and Joe Burrow both got stitches this week. People forget.
Thank you for your service. But anyways, I mean, better now than in the middle of the season. So
100%.
He'll be back in a couple weeks. He'll be fine for the regular season. So not too much to worry about there.
Yeah, he came back from an ACL tear last year and went to the Super Bowl. I think he's going to be okay getting his appendix taken out. By the way, those white helmets.
They're white alternate helmets with the white jerseys. Fresh.
Very nice looking. That's like the second very, very awesome uni change that the Bengals have dropped in the last 3 years since Joe Burrow came on. Seahawks running back Chris Carson is retiring from the NFL after 5 seasons due to a neck injury. Will not be the only Seahawk to retire on this list.
Yeah, Chris Carson, I mean, when healthy, he was a bruiser. He was a back, a pretty good fantasy back if you had him as like a flex option or a number 2. So I don't think he was ever able to reach his full potential because of the Seahawks offensive line wasn't the greatest. But yeah, his career was definitely cut short by this injury.
Yeah, absolutely. And linebacker KJ Wright signs a 1-day contract to retire with the Seahawks. He played 11 seasons in the NFL.
He did. He was a main catalyst for the Legion of Boom. One of the pass rushers that Gus Bradley used in the Legion of Boom. So he was definitely one of the most feared guys on that very talented defense.
The Buccaneers signed Julio Jones to a 1-year deal. So that shoots that conversation in the foot. Thank God.
So yeah, I mean, the Colts never really had interest in him. And Chris Ballard even said so earlier this week. Not surprised the Buccaneers picked him up.
I mean, Chris Ballard does not talk about stuff like that very outwardly. He goes, "We have not talked about Julio Jones at all. There have been no discussions."
Right.
I mean, like, you've been saying it. Other beat writers have been saying it. Chris Ballard said, "Let me go ahead and put this to rest. We're not talking about Julio Jones at all," which really pissed some people off as well. Dolphins signed wide receiver Mohamed Sanu to a 1-year deal. Interesting.
Mohamed Sanu, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill.
Pretty
Again,
solid squad.
Tua Tagovailoa, you can no longer hide, buddy. It's now or never.
Julio said that after he signed that the Colts were interested. He lied.
He definitely lied.
Or Chris Ballard lied.
Everything
all of them lie. All of them lie.
Everything I've heard from the organization, they never made a call on Julio Jones. Tom Brady, I'm sure you are excited about Julio
Tom Brady,
Jones.
you son of a bitch. Welcome back. Unfinished business, he says. Shut the fuck up. This fucking guy. Gronk's going to come out of retirement for the Super Bowl this year, too. Explicit. Bears sign offensive tackle Riley Reef to a 1-year, $10 million deal.
He was offensive tackle with the Bengals last year, the Vikings before that. Yeah. But the thing is, Reef is expected to be a starter for the Bears. So is it a very good look when you're signing starting offensive tackles right before training camp? I don't know about that.
Tough. Packers extend head coach Matt LaFleur. Great move. And GM Brian Gutekunst, not as great. I don't know how long, but they got extensions.
Terms didn't come out. I think it keeps them there. I want to say through 2028. I could be wrong on that. But I mean, Matt LaFleur definitely deserves that extension. He's done wonders with the Packers. Granted, he does have Aaron Rodgers. He had Devontae Adams, but still, he's at, I think he's 39-10 in 3 seasons with the Packers. So not a bad record to have.
This next piece of news is so exciting. Will you stop talking so I can get into it? The NFL launches NFL Plus streaming platform, which, by the way, I just hope to God works better than the regular NFL app. Streaming platform offering access to live out-of-market preseason games, live, local, and primetime regular season and postseason games on phone and tablet only, and local and national audio for every game. Andrew, do you know what this means?
What does this mean, brother?
This year is the last year that Sunday Ticket is contracted with DirecTV.
Correct.
Which means next year, the NFL is going to be streaming Sunday Ticket on NFL Plus app.
Probably.
They are not going to sell it to anyone. They're not going to have somebody else handle their streaming. They are going to do it on their own, and I'm jacked. I'm still mad they signed such a long-ass contract with DirecTV, even though I did, enjoy it for free for, multiple years.
This is basically replacing it's a revamp of NFL Game Pass, what they currently have. It's definitely better. I wonder if they're going to offer the all 22 film, because I mean, as a writer, need all of that, but I think this is a good move. I will definitely be subscribing to this and be able to watch some games on the way home from Colts games, or when I'm out of town for Colts games. It'll be fun.
Again, it's just the local games. So whatever's streaming local on your network. But still, that's great. I mean, if you're in a situation where you're not in front of a TV and you need to be able to watch a Colts game, guess what you can't do if you're in the state of Indiana right now through even NFL Sunday Ticket? Can't watch a Colts game. Right. So while I'm traveling, that is going to be prime time. All right, and that's it.
Wrap up. Real quick. So it must not have updated on your side, but we've got a couple more notes in the news.
What in the shit is going on?
I get to read them this time, but Seahawks and wide receiver DK Metcalf agreed to a 3-year, $72 million extension with $58.2 million guaranteed. That's a big deal.
That's a lot of guaranteed money.
It is. And the thing about this deal is, because people forget, DK Metcalf is pretty young wide receiver. He'll become a free agent again when he's 27 years old, right in the middle of his prime. So a good extension, good to make it only 3 years for DK Metcalf, so he can hit the market right away.
Also crazy money for a guy who's not even the second best wide receiver in his own division.
That's true.
Cooper Kupp, Debo.
Man,
he's second or third best receiver in that division.
So if Michael Pittman Jr. has a year where, say, he catches 90 balls, 1,200 yards, 8 TDs, Michael Pittman could be looking at $20+ million a year on an extension.
I doubt it.
I don't know. And then one more thing. Let me see here. The Chiefs signed defensive end Carlos Dunlap to a 1-year deal to help out their pass rush.
Interesting. I was just on the horn with my boss today, and we did not talk about that. So, I guess we'll talk about that tomorrow. Andrew, let's just remind these people where they need to go to follow us at A Colts Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, so that especially they can get in on this Colts Podcast ticket giveaway. Reminder, 2 tickets to the Colts versus Lions, August 20th, 1 p.m. at Lucas Oil Stadium. $0 to the preseason game, in which Andrew so kindly pointed out that will be when most of the starters play the most time. The rules are you got to like a Colts podcast on Facebook. If you don't have Facebook, make a Facebook. Follow a Colts podcast on Twitter at a Colts podcast. Also at Andrew Moore NFL. It's Moore. If you don't know how to spell the name Moore. And at BM Moses 9 on Twitter. If you don't have a Twitter, make a Twitter. Subscribe to a Colts podcast on YouTube. And you know what? If you don't have a YouTube, make a YouTube. And fun rule I added today, get an extra raffle ticket if you go ahead and leave a review and rating on the podcast and Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Google Podcasts, wherever you listen, and DM that to us on Twitter. Take a screenshot. Andrew, anything else for the people of the pod?
Colts football is back, baby.
Colts football is back.
It's exciting to watch this team, and we're going to have more insight all throughout training camps. It's going to be fun. Go Colts.
Go Colts.
Let this moment become a cherished memory. And then remember, a legacy is only worthwhile when there is a future to fuel. God bless you, and God bless football.